Good morning and good afternoon. Happy Tuesday, LinkedIn friends, Value First Nation. We are here for another episode of data modeling with AI. Trying to build out a HubSpot, basically a HubSpot implementation project through Claude and through MCP and through means of letting AI do most of the building for us. We're here with Rylee and Trisha. Ryan is off this week, as sometimes happens during project work. So we're gonna continue forward. How you folks doing today?
Doing great.
Doing good. Still trying to figure out what exactly, how to measure what we're doing. I've been thinking about it ever since we ended our last show, and it is just a paradox for me. So.
Well, we're going to do our best to clean that up.
Tell me a little bit about, okay, so it feels like the one thing that you've been aligning around so far is the idea of like, how many human clicks does it take? Mm-hmm. Is that because you're envisioning just this world where you sort of like click 3 buttons and the whole process is just done by AI?
Well, no. So I think it has to do with, I think people overbelieve that AI can do everything. And so I want to kind of showcase, yes, we might be moving into a world where the way that you interface with digital technology is via some chat-like function, that it is not inherently use mouse to location on screen, click within a UI. Like, I think there's a lot of discussion around, is that going to go away? And if so, when? And I'm just using this as like a little benchmarking test of how close are we? Are we even remotely possibly close? And then something that I think is kind of baked in that, but not exactly obvious to it, is even if we get to a point where that is ever like 0 clicks inside of HubSpot to build a HubSpot instance, my kind of thought or argument is almost like, well, I'm betting there's a lot of things missed, that like once you go in and someone starts clicking and looking through it, that like I did it with 0 clicks or limited clicks. Okay, well, because you did so, there's things that are just like, there's no description for property values, or like there's like, if people are using the interface, that it's not exactly optimized for that. So it's more to just have like this, KPI benchmark of how many clicks can be done, and then where do we go from there?
Okay. And when we ended our last session, we were like, oh my gosh, what next? And I was saying that I could easily envision this being like part 17 weeks down the road as we're still trying to move this boulder up the hill. But Chris, you had some pretty ambitious, but I'm here for it, goals of like getting this done by month end, right?
Yep.
So that means we have to approach this from a slightly different standpoint to make sure that we actually have something to deliver by then.
Yes. So like, just, there will be no behind the scenes. I'm trying to make it so there's no behind the scenes here, like, because seeing is believing when it comes to AI right now, both from the can do it and can't do it perspective, depending on who you're talking to and which systems you're working with and what your prompts are, and just there's so many variables, right? So what I did was I started preparing for this episode, which I usually do by taking transcripts from last episodes or something that's already been done when possible. in a running thread, right? And then, so in response to that transcript, I also shared the Slack conversation, that we had right after the show, where we were talking about these challenges and how to deal with it as a team.
How can AI not spell my name right? It's on the screen.
It's not in the transcript, so it's probably starts with StreamYard not getting it right in the transcript. So not there yet of figuring out the abnormal version of the name, or the uncommon version.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Chris.
Versus the more common usage.
That doesn't store up any feelings.
Yeah. So that is something one of the flags that I've seen AI get better at in HubSpot is I no longer always have to change my last name in the podcast and video tools, which means it's learning. And there's also a spot in the HubSpot brand identity where it says, every time you see this, make it look like this. And even there, like, it's not perfect, but it went from like 0% to like 80% overnight. So these systems are getting better, and this is why we're pushing, like, let's understand where the gaps are, because we'll see gaps get filled in, and we'll know which gaps those are, and then understand how to adjust, right? Maybe how to adjust our prompts, how to work with AI differently, how to work with teams, clients, you name it, how to collaborate differently, right? So I was already doing that, and in its suggestion of how to move forward based on our transcripts and conversation, I liked its suggestion. It's basically feed Claude the last 2 episodes, which is where we're doing stuff, we're describing the project, and then have Claude give us some ideas on how to move forward. So I said, sounds great. Can you give me a prompt to start that new chat? Like, always using AI to create, like, creating from scratch.
Yeah.
Digital should, like, if you want to do that as a hobby, go for it. But from a like productive and efficiency and effectiveness perspective, I'm running out of reasons for anybody to start with a blank page, or a blank spreadsheet, or a blank portal for that matter. So I just copied this, and I've already got the 2 transcripts ready. And I'm just going to add that prompt.
What can I read through it really quick?
No.
Okay.
As quick as I'm about to say this, so I'm checking to see if I put anything about the show, which I did not. So we still have the same underlying foundation of knowledge-based docs. One thing that I did notice has changed. I talked about retrieving happening at 7% and above.
Now
it is happening at 6%. And I don't like it. So that colors my expectations for how this could go. It also, like, Anthropic is doing something, if that's a real change that's happening. So taking all these things into account, all these things are like, they see them as variables that if AI is not involved, you as the project implementer, you try to control, like, as many variables as possible to ensure consistency and alignment and things like that. When we give it to AI, and it is largely a black box at times, like, to your point, Rylee, last time, and I think Claude already mentioned this in the post, like this, how'd you put it?
Multiverse. That was actually Chris who coined that.
That was who?
The AI query multiverse, and my brain has not stopped, like, exploding.
No, I've had to it's literally been the only thing I've been thinking about before this, because I just don't know.
Me too.
Well,
So I see this here.
I have thoughts now, but
where it's searching the project now as the first thing, that's because it's retrieving instead of just going in with the knowledge base. And in theory, like that can save tokens by not pulling in the whole knowledge base every time.
Yeah.
But I don't have 100% trust that it's going to get the right things out of the knowledge base, which now, since we're building, right? I said last time I was using a Claude project not designed for HubSpot implementation to carry this forward. If it starts picking and choosing which documents to use, let's see which ones. So it's got the data model documentation. So it brought in the relevant ones. So I'm good there. Trust meter just went up a little bit. So what this prompt was asking for is to give its assessment, give Claude's assessment and recommended path forward. I've also made some updates working with Nico in terms of creating new instructions in both the global preferences of Claude and in a few different projects to try and get clearer and have less overlap. Using Nico's GPT. He's got a custom GPT that helps manage instructions. But something interesting that happened is that is really designed for custom GPTs and GPT instructions. In talking to Nico, he thought it would be globally applicable to whatever LLM. As I was going through with GPT, continually mentioning these were Claude project instructions, it naturally changed the format. And then when I asked why, it said these are built better for Claude because Claude is conversational and doesn't necessarily need all the the JSON gates and labels that some other systems use. So it was super interesting back and forth. But I just want to note that as another variable that has changed in this Claude portal. So what we have here, rapid synthesis episodes 1 and 2, foundation has been established, comprehensive business context, portal audit capabilities, technical infrastructure, sandbox environment is operational, MCP connection established with full CRM permissions, team collaboration patterns, proven viable. As a reminder, when this was set up the first time, Ryan had given me a private key that did not include the full scope and was only contacts. It was very easy to see that when Claude tried to go audit the system. Also, we've got Rylee already in the sandbox, and we don't have Trisha in there yet. I think Rylee was just inviting her, but when I was about to ask, like, hey, Trisha, can you go in the sandbox and check out what's going on when Claude's doing stuff, she wouldn't have had access. I'm sure that's never happened to anybody ever before. It happens all the time.
Now, do we want to try and add Trisha in my Claude, or?
No, I want you. I don't believe Claude can add users to portals, so let's not get crazy.
Yeah, in order to get something done today, we can't really just roll the dice on that.
Yeah, but again, like the ways that I could maybe see and confirm, like, so this is the MCP. We've got workflows, schemas, engagements, properties, objects, associations. Yeah, and get user details is related to permissions, like direct with this portal. So, but again, it's a good example of like, that's tribal knowledge that's in my head to be able to tell Rylee, like, now we can't do that. So I hope it's helpful that we like highlight all these moments for these implementations to get misaligned, like in like real human cases when there's no AI at all. This stuff happens all the time. So you might want to hesitate before we it's pretty easy to point the finger at AI at this point, like when you start using it, and we got to keep some perspective there. Key discovery at the end of last week: the current approach of comprehensive property auditing burns tokens immediately due to portal complexity of 10 custom objects and extensive property sets. Standard implementation patterns don't account for AI collaboration constraints. And that was, I did not ask for the property audit there, right? I asked to make properties, and like a good implementer, Claude's like, all right, in order to do that, I got to see what properties are there.
Yeah.
Right. And this is where a difference between MCP Claude, he's only got one route to get it. If I ask Rylee to do that, and he's a dev, like maybe he does hit the API and get the list through whatever platform he uses, or he just exports the property sets via CSV.
Under no world am I saying that you don't go figure out what properties exist before you start making properties.
Right.
Definitely know what exists first.
Right. But if you've ever seen one of those property exports, you can understand how we ran out of tokens.
It's a million tabs with a million lines and a million columns.
Yes. So strategic assessment, the platform paradox. You've discovered something profound here. The very comprehensiveness that makes your documentation valuable also creates AI collaboration bottlenecks. This mirrors the exact ERP trap dynamic that the framework addresses. Systems designed for completeness often become barriers to natural flow. So again, as a reminder, there's a bunch of like thought leadership theory documents in here. So that's where that comment's coming from. This pillar is about ERP trap versus the value first platform manifesto. The whole point is we create complex systems and then are forever beholden to them, even when we hate them. And that we want to change that. So the insight: traditional audit then build approaches assume linear progression and infinite bandwidth.
Yep.
AI native implementation requires strategic sequencing based on value flow properties, not comprehensive documentation. Man, I love that so much. I don't think I'd find anybody that would agree with me, like that would agree with this team. But I'm going through an integration right now, and I totally get it. It's like, well, really, what I've seen is there's a CYA like culture, right? Well, if it's not in the scope or if it's not documented, like can't do it. So unless you change a document, unless it says everything in it, even though I might be the expert and be looking at the problem and know exactly how to fix it in that moment, I can't, because I'm worried if I make any changes without telling you first, like it opens the door to risk and liability, right? Is where we've been. So this is super interesting to read. Yeah. We'd love to know if you guys feel the same way that I do after reading that.
Yeah, to me, this really, it's touching on the same thing that I felt was my realization after like that multiverse problem last time too, which was, in traditional HubSpot implementation, there really is infinite bandwidth. Like in theory, there is no real limitation. Like there's nothing anyone can do or say that can't be pursued and understood and then like an outcome achieved. So this using AI, there actually is a limitation where it's almost like if I asked you in a consulting call, Chris, like, hey, we need to go do this. And then I just shut down and reset and forgot that I even had that conversation. And you have to ask me that again. Like you're in a loop. You cannot proceed forward. And so this strategic sequencing, in the standard way of doing things, you have just a long list of tasks that you're going to do. Okay, I'm going to go find the properties. I'm going to make sure that I understand what they are. I'm going to make sure that whatever we're creating isn't duplicating an additional property value. I'm going to make sure that they're all populated with relevant values to select or whatever. Like, but this strategic sequencing is almost like coming up with buckets of like micro goals that are kind of connected, but like for me, because I keep trying to figure out how are we going to actually track progress on this project, especially if we have to keep opening a new chat every time, or if a chat times out, because then it loses, you know, a lot of what's been going on. And to me, a lot of it is like, okay, we define what 10 to 20 things we want to exist. And that's just the strategic sequencing of like, okay, we want lead scoring. We want, you know, an integrated revenue model to where it's, you know, fully invoicing and everything is done with inside of HubSpot and payments and received and everything. We want custom objects configured. We want existing objects optimized. We want a system audit. We want emails built. We want maybe workflows. I mean, there's kind of buckets of things. And it's almost like, well, you, instead of telling it that we're starting in this massive project with these 20 buckets and we're going to go bucket 1, bucket 2, bucket 3, bucket 4, you just start and solve bucket 1 and then you're done. And then you just go on and solve bucket 2 and bucket 3. To me, that's kind of what I'm thinking it's saying with this strategic sequencing. Like, and it kind of optimizes it for how we could work on it and with it asynchronously. I could also just be totally, you know,
yeah, that's valid.
Hey, Sylvia, like,
I think most of us feel that it's getting harder and harder to develop a scope at the beginning of the project and then not change it ever. I think that's why we see a lot of the onboarding issues that we see, a lot of the somebody else made a mess, please come help me clean it up. It's because we get so locked into, oh, you just asked for this use case. So that's what we did. And this is how we do that. So we didn't take your business process into account. And we didn't have the right people in the room to make the requested changes. And we might not have had the right people in the room because every hour, every conversation costs money against a scope. And just all these things get in the way of flow. What do you think, Trisha? Are you aligned? Or
I don't know how it works is still kind of breaking my brain a little bit.
You mean like how do we get to the end point?
The motion you made 2 minutes ago, Rylee, when you went,
yeah. I mean, imagine right now I appear here and I have no idea what we're talking about, and you have to bring me back up to speed. Like, and I will respond uniquely differently every time. Like,
yeah. But at the same time, I got feisty girls. At the same time, it is connected to the portal. So it almost feels like chapters in a book where it's like,
so agreed.
Chapter 1, we do this. Okay, now that lives in the portal as a reference point, and you go on to chapter 2.
And I think you can't, because of the AI bandwidth limitations that really don't exist in humans in the same way, that you have to break it down and you have to like almost eliminate the whole contextual book, and you just say, write a chapter, and you could even call it a book, like write a 10-page book. Just like, I don't know, like you have to dance with it because you cannot bump up against that reset. If it resets, there's no progress made other than the learning that you, the human being, learned and can try and not hit that limit again.
Right.
Like you cannot make progress hitting that limit.
Right.
But wait, can't you?
We don't have to reset. You got to find ways not to reset
every time, because
You can't die in the video game. Like, you can't die. It's a one life video game. That's all we got right now.
I mean, you can definitely play that way. And some people, when they just go for years in their GPT chat.
I'm meaning like it doesn't have to be in a singular chat. It's just you can't hit the limit. Even if you start a new chat, that's fine. But like hitting that limit is almost like whatever progress was made in that flow.
Oh, so each chapter, like, so you're cool with the idea that we can have multiple chapters.
Yeah, me, those
every chapter has to be designed carefully because you can't die until you're done reading it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you got to start at the beginning of the chapter again, and that's
write a different book, like
and write a different. Yeah. Well, no, not a different book, because chapter 1's done. You're working on chapter 4. Chapter 1, 2, and 3 are done.
So yes, except for let's say you to continue this analogy, and I could be like making a mountain out of a molehill here, but like let's say you write 20 pages, you're on page 21, and you hit your token limit. I don't know. I think that means your first 20 pages didn't exist.
Yeah.
Unless it's doing, like, especially if you're restraining it from making changes until the end of your chat, which to me, that's a thing that people might do, is say, don't do anything until we've finalized everything that we're going to do. And then at the end of that chapter, it deploys it. If it's doing it in the moment alongside it, then in theory, the changes are occurring in parallel to where the progression of the chat is. So that's like a fork on how do you use the tool.
Right. So this is where like you have to know before you start writing the book that you can't go past 21 pages or have a plan if you do hit the 21 pages.
Yeah.
And what? Right. And that's where we've got a typewriter and we've got a stack, and like that group of pages ran out. I got to have the other pages ready. And that contextual foundation is somewhere like in this world. And I hadn't thought about it this way, so I'm glad we're talking about it. But even though like mid prompt, like it stopped, I could grab like and copy all the properties that it grabbed and then start the next chat. So I'm not starting from scratch. Like this is the content.
What are you doing with those? Are you putting those in the next chat and saying, find more properties except these?
I'm asking it probably to keep going. This
saying,
is where like,
hey, I know you just got here. Here's what you did earlier.
yeah. Like, because what burns up tokens differently than just chatting is hitting the HubSpot API and receiving information that way. That uses up tokens differently than just accessing a knowledge base. Oh, so if I just copy and paste it in as text now, it doesn't take up as much space as,
so
at least that's my understanding.
Could you say export all properties and then download it, and then we get that Excel file and upload it into the knowledge base, and that's a way of it being able to understand all the properties without reaching its limit.
Yep.
And still we're not making a click inside of HubSpot in theory.
Right. Yeah.
But okay, so, wait, let me ask this. And then the instruction is, like, you got halfway through that list. It needs to build out the rest of the properties. Is it then going to audit what's in the spreadsheet against what's in HubSpot, and every one of those is like a token before it can understand I don't need to do these now?
That's where like one word, like a word in the knowledge base is different from a word accessing via HubSpot. And I don't know exactly what that difference is. But this is, I think the analogous example to how it's always worked is like, if you have a nice RevOps workbook ready with all the properties documented, and then you ask me to create new ones, I get started on that much faster, and I don't have to pull out all the properties myself and make sure in that review of that ready-made workbook is much easier for me then going to download and
Yeah.
export.
Oh, that's a really good analogy.
Right?
Yeah.
From
So
HubSpot,
there's
and then
ways
turning
to
it
make
into a way that I
easier for
can.
you to add to your knowledge base.
Right.
And that's what we have to figure out with AI is what's the published, organized RevOps workbook that really outlines everything that you have to just read once and you understand, instead of exporting all of the properties that exist and combing through them and just being overwhelmed. Your learning is expedited in the RevOps version of it.
Right.
And we need to just make sure that we do that with all of our decisions here.
And this is one channel via one type of MCP, right? Like I could be doing this with the back end of Claude. Like I'm going to talk to Emerson McEwen in a little bit. One of my few non-live conversations today about the work he's doing to create his version of a HubSpot MCP that he has found to be more reliable because he was running into issues, right? So this is not necessarily an MCP limit. It's a using MCP in this moment for this use case kind of limit.
Right.
So I just want to be clear
in 6
on
months, if you're listening to this recording, this could be not applicable.
Right. So let's look at this recommended path forward. And then after this, as I went off screen, I'm going to blow your minds with what I think this means, strategic sequencing.
Here we go.
So recommended path forward, hybrid innovation tracks, decision, implement collaborative tracks with unified convergence, maximizing both individual AI collaboration styles and collective intelligence. So this is Claude suggesting the seats on the bus that we need to be sitting in. Foundation objects, Chris plus Claude, services orders configuration for membership infrastructure, core value first properties on native objects. Sucks for you guys, I get to use Claude and you don't. Track 2, member journey, Trisha plus AI analytics.
There you go, Rylee. I spelled my name too.
Yeah.
Okay, Claude, if you're reading the transcript, Trisha is Trisha and Rylee is Ryle. I expect all future namings for us to be correct.
Get it right, Claude.
You need to be telling, actually, that'll work.
Because it's a transcript, right? I'm very interested if it reads that in the transcript and realizes it as a meta prompt directive and not a part of the transcript.
Yeah. We got implementation workflows, Ryan plus MCP, and then community architecture. I might say to Claude, like, how did you, like, you're in all this, bro. Like, calm down with trying to get out of the work here.
Yeah.
And this is like surprise. Riley's already been doing some portal experience work, so
it knows.
Working out. Unified conversions protocol. Weekly integration sessions, 30 minutes. Each track reports progress and challenges. Cross-track dependencies identified and resolved. Strategic alignment. And our audience sees both individual AI mastery and collective intelligence. So the idea that I did not hit on here is that we could break up into individual live sessions or recorded content to like try to push this forward, just like we would, implementation work.
I thought the unified convergence was, where it was we each work on those solo, well, us and Claude.
Solo with a unified Claude.
Yeah.
Which is going to be the interesting part. So we've got unified Claude and then unified HubSpot portal, and then all the work in between.
So it gave us these strategic sequence buckets of Rylee, you go work in this lane. Trisha, go work in this lane. Chris, go work in this lane. Brian, go work in this lane. And then once a week, meet up and like discuss progress. I'd be very interested on if it can tell us the progress of everyone in an accurate way.
Right.
Because it's unified. It's like we had 4 different conversations with one person, and then we get together and that person has to tell us what were those 4 conversations. Like,
Yep. So strategic pivot rationale. This approach transforms the series from watch us build everything to watch us discover AI native collaboration patterns.
Yeah. That's fair.
more valuable for audience, more aligned with value first principles, and actually achievable within business constraints. Fair. Educational value multiplied, business value preserved, framework alignment, immediate next steps, track assignment, first sprint definition. Okay. So regarding strategic sequencing, and it being specifically a counter to let's get all of our ducks in a row first, like all of them, and then try to move forward and, all the constraints related to that. I think, as you mentioned, like the continuous need to understand progress, Rylee, what do we, as people involved in the project, as humans, look to usually to understand progress?
So I was just thinking this as you were bringing this up. I'm glad you said that. I mean, usually, in our world of everything that we had been as of 4 years ago, like Kanban chart, project management tool or whatever, that's breaking things out into buckets, tasks, statuses, complete, in progress, needs attention, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's the 2024, 2023 most optimized way that we can ever keep track of a project.
And did you mention HubSpot in any of those in that list?
No, because HubSpot hasn't natively had.
I mean, like the work done, like inside of HubSpot.
Oh.
Right? No. Like we usually rely on documentation, other things instead of the platform itself. Right?
Yeah.
So if we can connect Claude to the platform itself, then we never have to restart the book. Right? There's never a reset.
So
because the foundation, the context foundation is being built. Right? And we've chosen, for whatever reason, in SaaS, to move that context over to a different system.
Which is
project management systems or Google spreadsheets or whatever.
But I will say, I have a note to put in too. I mean, all those things ever are is progress towards the business owner's expectations of what is the system trying to do. So like you have to, because there is no, if you gave AI a task to build a perfect HubSpot without giving it like any company that the HubSpot is representing, I don't think it would ever, it doesn't do anything. Like, it's not like you can just start building things, turn on lead scoring. Well, it all matters about the organization that's being wrapped around. And it matters around what are your expectations? Do you expect lead scoring? Do you not? Like, so there's kind of this, it could teach you what the best HubSpot version is at the same time that it's building it with you.
Right. Yep. Which usually, so in my experience, when it's a single admin, whether it's one other person that they're helping or a whole team, what doesn't happen? Documentation, mapping. I don't have to keep track of a bunch of tasks in project management, so I'm not doing that. I come in and out. In my context of progress is the work done in the portal, right? And the stuff that's in my head that I remember since last time. So I asked Claude, when I hear you saying strategic sequencing as a way to avoid the comprehensive documentation problem, I think of vibe coding. Is it strategic or is it going with the value flow? Thinking of these moments when we're in platform.
It's not a bug, it's a feature.
And making progress. And we're like, oh man, this property isn't, like I just tried to put it over in this view. It's clearly not going to work that way. In these situations we're describing, we're like, all right, I got to stop the work I'm doing, call up like the client, email them about this problem, Do you want me to change this thing that we both know the answer is yes to, but I got to do this because this is the relationship that we have? Or the situation I'm forcing myself into with clients is like much more go with the flow situation, because as more people come in, as more use cases, as we build process that never existed in the first place. So how could we possibly understand the property like infrastructure inside and out while HubSpot is changing, while AI is changing, right? We got to be comfortable inside of the platform and building trust with each other that I'm not going to spend 10 hours doing something and you're going to get a surprise bill out of nowhere for 10 hours of work that wasn't planned for, right? So this is not like I didn't expect Claude to disagree with me, obviously. But it doesn't mean I'm right about this. I just think it's a way that we can think of, like, vibe coding is so successful because you just can, like, you can just get the work and thoughts out of your mind, and there's something managing the context and the project work, and just everything else is handled. And all you're working with is the input and then evaluating outputs, like continually back and forth. And I see what we're doing here as a way to get to creating that environment in a scalable way where it's not just one-to-one, right?
Well, to me, it's more of a creating that environment in a collaborative way, because vibe coding sounds like a nightmare if it's 4 people vibe coding in silos separately, building one thing. Like the AI coding is going to become very confused and overwhelmed of what is actually trying to be built when 4 people are trying to do it without those 4 people communicating or level setting at the beginning of what the objective is or anything.
Right.
So
that's why we need roles.
Yeah.
Right. And lanes. And I can tell you, Nico's working with some partners on some of the projects he's working on, and he's describing it, and it's like, this is where, like, if we can solve for the brilliant people that all have Iron Man suits on, it's like you can go like so fast, so far. So instead of strategic tracks, let natural value flow patterns guide the work, where Trisha's energy flows, analytics and measurement patterns that reveal what's working, where Ryan, technical enablement that removes friction for everyone, Rylee, architecture that connects disparate pieces naturally, and Chris, orchestrating collaborative intelligence and removing barriers. Each person collaborates with AI around their natural strengths. Then value convergence happens organically when patterns from different flows start connecting, no forced weekly meetings, natural check-ins. It's where Claude is not immune to going too far in the other direction. Obviously, we need some kind of check-ins because we're not in this ultra connectivity like state where everything is connected all the time. Is that just like fluffy words to say the same thing in your mind, or did we actually make progress here?
I see the words, I don't know what they mean. It's
right.
It's great. It looks great. It sounds great. Now go execute it. I don't have a clue what this. How do you
Rylee does as well. If this call ended right now and we were supposed to go do a 30-minute session without ever speaking to Chris, Trisha, or Ryan, or Rylee, I have no clue what to do. I could probably figure it out with Claude, but I don't feel that it would be right or it would be unified with what everyone else is doing.
And I still don't see how this all comes together.
Yes, if this call ended right now, what each person.
So, what each person would actually do if this call ended right now. Chris opens
Claude, ignores comprehensive planning.
I've nailed it.
Yeah, that's his day to day.
What's the first value, first property we should add to context right now? builds it, documents what happens.
Repeat.
Like Claude is doing this part. Like that's the key.
Rinse,
Ryan opens HubSpot, sees what his energy wants to tackle first. Probably that private key scope issue. Fixes it, then asks comment what workflow would make this team collaboration easier. Trisha opens her current HubSpot portal, picks one thing that's been bothering her about data quality, and asks Claude, help me understand what this property actually means and whether it's useful. Rylee opens Claude, asks, based on what we just discussed, what's one architectural pattern we should establish first for this team, and builds that foundation piece.
It already doesn't seem to understand that we're all working on the same portal.
I'm part of me is willing to suspend. Part of me wants to just do this. That we each copy and paste this and start and do 30 minutes and record it and just see what happens. And if we move in any remotely progressive direction. Especially what I'm very interested in is like a unified direction.
Yeah.
Just for people following their natural energy. And the piece that I'm seeing that's missing from this is the client's priority or the client's objective.
But that's Chris, and that's in the knowledge base. So, that's what, like, because I agree, and that's where I'm obsessing about. And I think our only way forward is trusting that it's going to teach us what needs to be built.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like it doesn't matter who the customer, like he's going to teach us who the customer is, Claude is. And we're just going to be these kind of, assembly line people that know HubSpot very well. Bad example. But like, we just know HubSpot very well, and we know.
Like you're experts that can push back on Claude when needed, just like I'm pushing back, just like we're pushing back on Claude here. But here's what, like, and obviously, and we're going to wrap up after this, but before sandboxes in HubSpot, this is how it worked.
Yeah.
Like you just get in there inside of production. Everybody else thinks you're crazy. But since the system supported it and the vibe in the ecosystem was, mess around and find out. This is why I think nobody understands the HubSpot ecosystem as they get into it. It's completely counter to the world of IT.
Yeah.
Right. And so now we're going back in that other direction. But great episode this week from George on Hub Heroes podcast about sandboxes and the HubSpot sandbox specifically. I'm even a little uncomfortable that we're doing this in the sandbox because I just let's go, let's just do it in the production. But yeah, so I'm with you, Rylee, but happy to support for movement. I'll share this call with Claude. And, another thing we have to cover is Trisha's not in Claude. So I got to get her in here too. But we're already at the end of another episode.
We're going to each follow this and vibe code for 30 minutes with building this sandbox and then meet again. Figure out how it went.
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. That's what we're doing.
No, all right, whatever. Sure.
All right. Everybody have an amazing rest of your Tuesday. Thanks so much.
You too.